Welcome to Two Women in Crypto, a weekly podcast birthed on a whim by two women who are excited about the cryptocurrency landscape and have a shared passion about empowering others to step into the digital, tokenized world of the future. We offer tips, tricks, and our own individual insights as to how to begin to navigate this shift. We are not financial advisors nor experts. We are just here to encourage you to look at the possibilities. So welcome to the future. You're right on time.
Good morning, Kelly. Oh, Kelly, your mic's on mute.
Yeah, so a few technical glitches. I think this, I don't know, just hey, good morning, everybody. First of all, good morning. Can you hear me now?
I sure can.
Okay, so the sunspots, they're aimed right at us. So I'm just going to blame technology on that this morning. So I apologize that was really crackly on my end. So I would assume that those that are out there might be getting some crackly stuff too. So, goodness gracious.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, another show of Two Women in Crypto. Diving deep into research.
Yes, deep into research. And I told Andrea this morning, it's like I had to stand up. I could not sit for today's episode. I mean, it was like there's lots of energy moving, and I felt like if I was going to be sitting, I'd be fidgeting all day. So I'm going to be fidgeting standing up. So it's all good.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, let's do this. We're gonna just start and do a deep dive here on a bunch of different things today. There's so much going on, and I want to kind of start the podcast over and just kind of reiterate how important it is for everyone to take their coins off of all centralized exchanges for now, whether that's Uphold, Voyager, Kraken, Gemini, it doesn't matter. Let's get everything on like a Safepal, Trezor, Ledger. I don't care what you use. If you don't have any money, you can open up a Trust wallet, Exodus wallet, Atomic wallet. I just talked about the Edge last week. You can even connect it to your privacy phone and have complete privacy over your money. There's so much turmoil. There's so much instability. And, and I was sitting with all this news with Celsius, Voyager. Now we have BlockFi, and we have Sam Bankman-Fried. If you don't know who he is, I suggest you do some research on him. He's super successful. IT person who created FTX Trading Exchange. He's a big investor in Alameda Research, okay? And now he owns 11% of Voyager because Voyager, BlockFi, Celsius are all in trouble, right? I mean, Celsius still has all of its funds frozen. So now we have BlockFi and Voyager. So what Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX, instead of doing a bank bail-in, now we have a company bail-in. And that's exactly what happened. They lent BlockFi and Voyager money to bail them out to cover their losses against the hedge funds, Three Arrows Capital. Okay.
Right.
So I believe, and I'm looking at it and I love Voyager, but you know what? I'm liking them less and less. They overextended themselves with a huge loan to one company. How are you protecting our money that we're putting on the exchanges when you're allowing one company to borrow so much money? And yeah. Again, and when you're in this industry, we're going to go in a bear market. The market is going to crash. And to be that careless with your customers' deposits, it's not okay. And this is another check in the box for decentralization. All of these companies are centralized and they're failing. And that's the bottom line. Whether it's banking systems like Bank of America or Voyager or Celsius, they're all centralized and we have exposure. It's just not the right time until some of these systems kind of evolve over time. Don't you agree?
Oh, I agree. And I want to go back too about your mention about getting everything off of the exchanges, anything that you're holding regardless. The one thing I would suggest there too is, for instance, Coinbase would be an example. And I'm a proponent, of course, as Andrew just said, of moving everything off, but don't move it to a Coinbase wallet. They have a wallet option. You want to choose an external wallet, a cold storage wallet, as much as possible, but like Atomic Wallet and things of that nature. But don't move your Coinbase funds to a Coinbase wallet. I'm a proponent of just taking everything off of, if it's associated with it, choose something different. I just want to make sure that people are clear, because I know that there's some people moving some funds around this morning just based on news.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's like not your keys, not your crypto, right? If you're not the sole holder of your keys, you don't own your crypto. When you put your crypto on Coinbase, Gemini, Voyager, whatever it may be, you don't own your crypto. Just like we don't own our money in a bank. They own it. Once we deposit it, they lend it out. It's the same thing. So people can say that all of this stuff is like a Ponzi scheme, but so is the banking system. So
exactly.
It's the same thing, right? Because it's centralized. It's all the same thing. So,
yeah, and you have to wonder, I mean, as the soldiers fall, who's going to be standing at the end of the day? It's obviously not going to be the big names that we thought.
Yeah, we have no idea. Really, we have no idea, like, who's gonna be the winners. But again, it's just like when I look at Trezor and Safepal and even Ledger, they're doing really good work adding new tokens for private holding, right? So we can hold our tokens offline. I did a lot of updates with Ledger and working with a lot of folks this week, getting their coins off centralized exchanges and let support for Cardano and Hedera. So that's great. So if you hold Cardano or Hedera Hashgraph, now you can just transfer it to your Ledger wallet and just hold it.
Right. Hedera was the one that I was really struggling with. I wasn't sure where to put that until you told me about Ledger. But then there's also the Yori wallet for staking Cardano as well as an option.
Absolutely.
Which can be done through your Ledger wallet also. So.
Yep. So it's whatever, wherever anyone is for comfort level, Yep. But the least comfortable place to keep your tokens is on a centralized exchange. Just
exactly. Right.
Yeah. I have nothing left on a centralized exchange. This is not financial advice. We're just telling you what we're doing and what we're seeing. And things change, So it's going to be a learning curve, that's for sure. So real quick too, just to keep going on with the news. So I just want to kind of touch base. I was doing a deep dive, just trying to follow Michael Barr, who's been nominated by President Biden to be the vice chair of the Federal Reserve Bank. He joined Ripple Labs. I think he worked for them between 2015 and 2017 or 2014, 2016, somewhere around there. But it looks like Michael Barr is receiving bipartisan support to get, elected for this position. Okay. Now, if you don't know who the vice chair of the Federal Reserve Bank, what that means, sign up for our class about the Federal Reserve Bank that we're teaching in a couple of weeks.
That's it. July 16th. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a deep dive because when I started really educating myself back in 2020 about the Federal Reserve Bank and, what are they responsible for? Like, who controls the Federal Reserve Bank? It really brought up a lot of questions. So Kelly and I are working on like building a really nice curriculum around the Federal Reserve Bank. And it's probably going to turn into a series because just like how the blockchain interconnects for a decentralized world, these centralized entities come together and connect to create a centralized world. Really, really interesting. But it's going to be fun. So the fact that Michael Barr is probably going to be the next vice chair, again, we've talked about conflicts of interest. He was on the Ripple Labs board, not Ripple Labs, which created XRP. So we have a conflict of interest, but they're moving along anyway. We really want to keep an eye on XRP throughout, the lawsuit, see who's adopting specifically XRP moving forward, because things are changing fast, and they only give us like the information that they kind of want us to see, like, and we can pull other research and speculate, but we're really seeing more and more adoption and where they're going with some of this technology, which is really cool.
Oh, absolutely. They're very intentional about what they're sharing along the way. So
yeah, for sure. So with that said, I know, like, just a quick update, the SEC Ripple lawsuit, we should have the judge coming out, Judge Netburn, and she's going to say, hey, we want to see those Hinman emails, or the opposite. Hinman has client privilege. He met with his lawyer, so those can remain sealed. Now, with the expert testimony coming from Patrick Doody, he said that he was, I guess, like, there was some concern about maybe complaints, threats, harassment by John Deaton, the XRP lawyer. They threw that out, right? So that's just ridiculous, because we thought maybe someone in the XRP community had threatened, this witness, because he's the expert witness about XRP and Ripple. But the judge was like, it's not going to happen. And the SEC is trying everything just to delay. Like, let's just face it, anything that they can do to delay the case. But everything is looking 100% in favor of Ripple and XRP.
All right. So much fun to watch this world turn.
I know. And with that said, I know we mentioned, like, last week, like, Ripple and Binance were like two of the only companies like hiring, and just this week, Ripple made an announcement. We're opening up another office in Toronto, Canada, which is like kind of like part of like that hub for technology, is actually based in Toronto. So here we go. Ripple's opening up another office in Canada, and they're hiring 50 engineers to start, and they're looking to grow that.
Yeah, that's a great sign.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, great sign for sure.
Yeah. And again, like, just like with some of these like companies like Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, and, even with some of these like smaller startup like payment rail companies that have been doing well, but are going to be hit hard by the recession, then what happens is that bigger companies come in and buy the little companies. So we're just going to look at this for the rest of the year into 2023 and see how this plays out,
Yeah. So unknown.
It's totally unknown. We don't know, but we know some things, right?
But I'm still dollar cost averaging in. So
yeah, and that's it. Dollar cost averaging in. I know a lot of people are so scared, but at the end of the day, it's like, once we hit that bottom, and Kelly and I think we're both in agreement, we're not there. But once we hit the bottom, it's not like Bitcoin or the market in general just keeps going down or just goes sideways. It hits bottom and it starts to slowly correct up.
Right. It has to create its baseline. I mean, anytime you have a correction like this, it's going to have to find a new rhythm. And that's just the structures of the markets in general. So it's not going to be an overnight, okay, we're back into a bull market. It's going to take some time, but we're going to be really sitting in a great position. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited about it.
That's it. We just keep dollar cost averaging, and I'm pretty psyched about it. About it. But did you get a chance, Kelly? Did you see that article I sent you? So it looks like Russia is completely going to be breaking away from SWIFT.
I have not looked at that.
Okay, so we're gonna include it in the link because it's just really interesting. And again, like, as a researcher, like, I look at, like, China's breaking away from the SWIFT system. Russia's breaking away from their SWIFT system. We have the BRICS nations looking to break away from the SWIFT system. So what is this going to create? And I believe it's just a continuation of the de-dollarization of the dollar. Everyone wants to trade with their own dollar. There's no reason why the United States should have that huge monopoly over international trade, right? Because what happens is that, you know, even if people go into these positions like with good hearts and they want to do good things, it's like greed and money changes people, right? Just like having like a heroin addiction, it changes you. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So so we weaponize it, we're manipulating it, we're doing all of these things as a country. So now we're seeing the breaking away of that monopoly, which is something we want to see, but we live in the United States and we get hurt, right? Just like we got hurt, we sanction another country, we get hurt as people in the United States, right? Just like Russia gets hurt. You know, like I was listening to someone saying a gallon of gas is hitting almost $15 in Russia, you know? Yep. Wow. So there's huge increases going on like all around the world. So, you know, we just want to take a look at these things, and we're going through a period of instability. We're going through a period of massive disruption, changing our financial system. Okay. So with that said, things will go down, right? Asset prices are going to go down. Inflation's really high. Like there's all these uncertainties. So we're just going to ride it out, dollar cost average, and we're going to be okay. And it's a great time to take some extra time out to do some research.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's Rostech that you're speaking of. I see the article here, so this will be interesting to do a deep dive in. And I'll go ahead and share it briefly in the thread here, and then of course we'll include it in the podcast notes.
Yeah, yeah. Because like I know someone in our group this week had sent out like a really awesome question about the centralization of central bank digital currencies. And, you know, hey, like I'm reading and I'm seeing things that it's not going to be built on a blockchain in the United States specifically. So if anyone's like really interested in like doing a deep dive, it's called Project Hamilton. It's the project that's being collaborated with like Accenture and a bunch of other people. But like, so they've been working on building their central bank digital currency through MIT. Okay. So, yep. So it's called Project Hamilton, and you can look it up. And I was reading through it for a while yesterday, and it just seems like now if the Fed is going to do like direct payments for retail, like people like us, right? Like, let's just say there's like a universal basic income that we're going to be rolling out, which kind of looks this way because this is what they're doing. How can they do it when you take a company like, let's look at Ripple, who's one of the more advanced blockchains. They can only process 1,500 transactions per second right now. Okay. So if we look at that, that's not really going to work for the masses. So what the engineers of MIT and the Federal Reserve Bank and just other collaborative people is like, how can we take this current system and make it faster, right? Because if it's centralized, there's one node, and that is the Federal Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank. So there's one node, super fast, right? Super fast. Bitcoin is slower because super secure, super private, lots of nodes. It takes longer right now, right? Because all of these systems are getting more and more mature. But I definitely wanted to jump on that because I'm going to kind of try to connect what's going on with the central bank digital currency for the United States and connect it with JP Morgan, just to kind of show the difference between centralized systems and decentralized systems. You ready? It's going to be fun. All I think about is like, we are such nerds. Like, who talks about this stuff?
Not that many people. Believe me, when I want to talk deep about it, it's you I call. It's like, okay, tell me where we're at. Yeah.
So, you know, we have a great article about JP Morgan is partnering with Blackrock, right? So what they're looking to do is they want to bring trillions of dollars of tokenized assets to DeFi, which got Kelly and I in a tailspin over the week because we're like, tokenized, digitized, right? So like
millionized.
Right on. Hold your coins. Hold your coins, right?
Hold your coins.
So, but this is, this is such a good adoption for, for blockchain and for cryptocurrency from a centralized point of view, right? So JP Morgan partnered with Blackrock, and now what they want to do is tokenize money markets. So we're talking money market funds are going to be tokenized. The bond market is going to be tokenized. The stock market is going to be tokenized. The real estate market is going to be tokenized. So, we really want to just sit with this because it hasn't happened yet, right? We're kind of like almost like near futurists. A couple of years ago, we were total futurists, but now it's like we're getting closer to the future. And now we have a $338 billion company, JP Morgan Chase, that's letting us know, hey, you know what? We're just going to partner with BlackRock and we're going to tokenize the money market system. And then we want to do bonds, right? Are they going to do
it was coming?
Right. And then it's like, well, and then the question that I had was, well, just throw real estate in there too, JP Morgan, because BlackRock owns it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and this is kind of like the case too of like, if we only have JP Morgan and like the central bank systems and BlackRock and Blackstone and Vanguard, Amazon, Google, if we have a handful of companies that own everything, it's not going to work out well for us, y'all. Right?
No,
and I think this whole thing is going to fall apart, but I want to go into it because JP Morgan did a great job building out their blockchain ecosystem 100% centralized. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So the first thing that we have right now is what they created is, let's just start with Quorum. Okay, a lot of people probably don't even know what Quorum is, but Quorum is the blockchain for JP Morgan. So what JP Morgan did was they copied Ethereum and they centralized it. Okay, it's a permissioned version of Ethereum. That is JP Morgan's blockchain, basically. Okay. So within that blockchain, they're building out their ecosystem. So they have an ecosystem called Liink, Liink, and that's for peer-to-peer payments. And they have 400 plus financial institutions in 78 countries. All right, so it's big. I mean, Ripple, Ripple's valued right now at 15 billion. JP Morgan Chase, 338 billion. We're keeping this in perspective. Okay. This is kind of like David against Goliath here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing that was really interesting is like they said they've been working with like this Singapore, like Singapore Monetary and a whole bunch of other institutions, like the Bank of International Settlements is in on this. So really large centralized systems are building out something like Liink. They're not really pushing Quorum, but Quorum, the coin that they use through that system is called JP Morgan coin. Okay, so it's a centralized coin that is only used for institutional banking systems. Okay, and that's basically it. All right, so we don't have to worry about JP Morgan giving us like universal basic income. I don't think that would happen, right? Because that would come straight from the Fed through
right,
that
not through.
Fed app. Yeah, and I think they called it like OneCoin.
I think it was OneCoin. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like FedCoin better, but name it what you want. It's temporary.
Right.
And even last week, if you go back to last week's podcast, I think Kelly posted the article about JP Morgan. When they give a timeline, of these systems being developed, like the first stage is going to be done by 2030, but after that, decentralization will take over, because just like the internet, we created the Internet of Information. You can censor some of it, but you can't censor all of it.
Right.
And that's, so this is, I'm looking at like these central bank digital currencies as like a stepping stone that will fail.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shows itself.
Yeah. And with that said, so JP Morgan, like to look at the next part of their ecosystem is Onyx, Onyx. If people want to look it up, it's a cross-border payments platform that I would think would be in direct competition with Ripple. And they're going to be doing the clearing platform in the payment sector for Project Dunbar. So those of you who haven't heard of Project Dunbar, Kelly and I have talked about it podcasts ago, like many weeks ago. You could go back. We did a pretty good job like breaking it down. But now we have Onyx for cross-border payments, and then Partior, Partior, also part of that clearing platform for payment sector, will be a part of Project Dunbar with the Bank of International Settlements, all very centralized. Now, the Bank of International Settlements is building their blockchain on R3 Corda, okay, which doesn't, I mean, R3 Corda runs XDC, but it's not, they run multiple ISO 222 tokens. So a lot of the developers that work on R3 Corda say, hey, Algorand, Stellar, XRP, IOTA, all of them can be used on this platform and have been. So it's not one specific one. Okay. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are. It's just a lot, especially if somebody's just new to the whole thing. It's just a lot. And I have a hard time tracking, and I feel like I'm getting, better, but yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate
trails to follow.
Yeah, and give us feedback, because we can break this down again and again and again. And the more information that they release to us, like I'll bring it to everybody. But I know a lot of people say like they take notes when they listen to our podcast, and I think it's so good. So like take notes. Project Hamilton, Project Dunbar. I mentioned something to you this morning. Project Jasper. Now that's the project in Canada that's going on with their central bank digital currency as well. So we'll continuously do a deep dive on that and just bring the information, as it comes out. But here's the thing that I'm thinking too, is when I was listening to the engineers and the developers talk about Project Hamilton, and this was as recent as just like 2 months ago, we are years away from a central bank digital currency. So I don't want people to be super fearful. It takes a really long time to transition into a new system. And again, like sitting with like, how can we overcome the problem of central bank digital currencies? And I have the solution.
Okay. Of course you do. I can't wait. I swear to goodness, people better be listening in. Go ahead.
Don't use it. If no one uses the central bank digital currency, we won't use it. That's it. And again, we have to educate folks. I'm thinking we have a couple of years. I could be wrong. They could roll this out in 6 months. Because to me, when I listen to these people, the more I learn, Kelly, it's theater. It's all look at the monkey, like look at this news, look at that news, while they're doing all of this crazy stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So we're not 100% sure.
Yeah, I mean, look at cryptocurrency in general. How long has it been in the markets? And the whole time they've been building this out. And so really, they're just leading us along. It is following the breadcrumbs. They're like, let's distract you over here, but this is what reality is really going to be like. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, people like us, we look like the mad functional like analysts being like, okay, well, they said this and we got this piece of article and 10 years ago, and we put the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's so much fun. But again, it's like the more I'm thinking about it, we're going to have a mixture of blockchain and centralized systems doing this. And it's really interesting too, because I've always said it's got to be the emerging markets first. It has to be the smaller countries to test the blockchain. And whether that's for central bank digital currencies or something as simple as like the USDC coin, right? Because that's been tested probably even longer and used even longer. So stable coins are first for adoption. They're going to get adopted.
And they want their autonomy.
Right. And we have the reserve currency. We're not going to give that up without a fight. And it's concerning when we see the BRICS nations and Russia and all these different, because all these countries are going to be trading with each other without using the dollar. When that dollar comes back to America, is inflation going to go up or is it going to go down? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Kim has a question. Sorry, I know there's a delay. I don't mean to be talking over you. Just for those that are joining us, thank you for being in the space, Hope and Kim and whoever else is leaning in. And Kim, yes, we'll find the link to the podcast where we spoke to about Project Dunbar prior, and I'll make sure to get that to you also.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, because like the more and more I'm looking at things, the more I'm seeing like R3 Corda is getting adopted, and again, it's not to downplay like how much I think, Ripple and XRP is going to be adopted and XLM and Algorand, but they all kind of have like different use cases. And there's a lot of countries, there's a lot of payment rails. I feel it's going to take all of them to connect and to kind of move the value of money through the internet. And to me too, like that could even be like the very early stages of the quantum system.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating.
It's really fascinating because they're all kind of being developed at the same time. So, but when I listen to these engineers and they're like, we got it up to 1.7 million transactions per second. That's the power of centralization of one node. And again, do you want to download a digital ID on a Fed app with one node, one point of failure, and all your money, all your identity is just wiped? And again, with that said, because I did really read through the document, and there is a privacy component to that central bank digital currency that's looking pretty good, right? Because I try to look at this like I don't want anyone to have a central bank digital currency. I do not want us to be like China, but like I always try to look for the good. Like I'm always trying to be idealistic and not naive, but like I believe that the human spirit will rise in that moment of time to shift us into a decentralized world. Even though it looks this is bad, right? This is very, to have everybody on a central bank digital currency, to go to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, any bank and look at these ESG scores. I was, and even like I was listening to the regulation for digital assets when, and some of the folks they're concerned because they see the ESG score being a social credit score. And the infrastructure is built. It's there.
Yep.
Go to
it is there.
Website, Merrill Lynch. I don't care where you're banking. It's there. So we don't want this to be our future or our children's future or our grandchildren's future. So we have to shift it into decentralization.
Undoubtedly. And I really encourage people to look at the fine print because you will find that language in those systems, in the back end, in the fine print, you will find it. It's right there. So they've been telling us this for quite a while. So totally.
And again, like, and I think it was last week or the week before, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but it's all connected. Like JP Morgan posted an article, like came out and publicly said they're replacing their real estate investments with an alternative class called cryptocurrency.
Huh.
So they're replacing their real estate holdings with crypto. And we're looking at real estate being tokenized, with BlackRock owning a good portion of real estate. It would make sense that JP Morgan and BlackRock are going to be a huge proponent for the tokenization of real estate, because we can all own a little piece of the pie, right? Because they're democratizing real estate. So if they have a $5 million condo on the beach, we can all own a piece of it. But my question is, who's going to own the majority of it?
Right. And who's going to actually, yeah, exactly. That's the bottom line at the end of the day.
Right.
Sure, I'd be, who knows if I want, I mean, and that doesn't even talk about the metaverse portion of it, about the tokenization of how you can own real estate in the metaverse. And that's a whole nother thing, but we're talking about real world scenarios, not the metaverse, which in some people's world, that's the real world, and so be it. But yeah, but,
I mean,
it's fascinating.
And it's hard to fight against the metaverse, right? So, okay, I got an announcement. I did it. I minted my first NFT because, and this was from I did the Cardano Summit over a year ago. I think I did. I mean, it was when we first started, and I never minted it. And then I forgot all about it. And I was like, who keeps emailing me this Terra Virtua? So I clicked on it, and it's like, mint your NFT. We're expecting them to go up like 69x. So I got a Tree of Life, and I got it for free. So, and I think you were working on my computer one day, and I was like, what is this NAMI wallet? What did I forgot because I do so many things. And I was like, ooh, that's for my NFT that I never minted. So it cost me about $5. No, not even. It cost me 5 Cardano. So like $2.50. And I minted my NFT. Now it makes it sound super techy, but all it is you press a button and it says processing, and then you have your NFT. It's not hard. It's literally pressing a button.
Well, that's interesting because I have the Terra Virtua, but I haven't looked at it. I've been holding up for a bit. I have not looked at minting an NFT. I have minted my wallet on Polygon, but that's not minting an NFT. So interesting. Well, there you go. You're out in that world now.
That's it. I got my first NFT, and it's a Tree of Life, which is really kind of cool.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So now that I did that, now I'm like a preferred holder or whatever. So they'll give me dibs on the metaverse land. And I can get discounts, and I have an avatar too. I showed it to Rowan, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm like an alien."
I haven't gone down the avatar road yet.
Well, I think I just picked something random. I mean, it literally was probably the first thing that popped up, but it's kind of cool. I can see people getting into this, but it's like anything else. It's like drinking. Moderation. Go in, have fun, come out. Don't get lost in the metaverse, because before you know it, your life will be gone. But I don't see us getting around the digital ID. I don't see us getting around the metaverse. If you have a job, you're going to be in the metaverse. Like Kelly and I right now, we're kind of in the metaverse, I can't touch you, right? I can't, you're not in the computer screen.
Right. No, I think that obviously we've been setting the stage. And even if you look at the job market today, if anybody's been exploring it, just out of curiosity, it's a fascinating landscape. I mean, it's fascinating from so many different ways. We're not going to get into all the political aspects of it or things of that nature. We're just going to stick on the digital side of it. But it is really, really interesting what it looks like, what the process is. And I wonder how people actually go through it all. I mean, you have to make some big decisions when you're looking at the markets, the employment markets.
Yeah,
as
I
a
mean, Rowan and I talk about it because she's a digital health coach.
yeah.
So, and I even said like, and I know we kind of joked about it in the past, but if you guys want, we can do like a really short 30-second clip and I can ask Rowan to come on and be like, Rowan's World, digital health. Because let me tell you, all of our healthcare is going on an app. It's coming soon to Walgreens, CVS, and I could see big corporations shifting into like, instead of like legacy healthcare system, which is making people more sick, they're actually making healthcare better. And it's going to be awesome and a little creepy, but it is better. I think it's better. It's just a matter of having a decentralized ID. It's like not your keys, not your crypto. It's my ID. It's my sovereignty. It's my soul. I believe I have a soul. I'm energy, and it's not the government's energy, right? So, and I don't think that we're ready for that. And so we're going to have to try to get over this hump where everything can stay decentralized. So stay tuned, because as the centralization is coming out, because they only are working off of one node, we have companies like Pulse Chain, Cardano. I'm a little concerned about Ethereum. Like they
Well,
say, like, I mean, it's
well,
a win.
let's talk about Ethereum though for a minute, because I've been kind of concerned about Ethereum. But when you talk about projects such as Quorum being built on the Ethereum blockchain, then you think to yourself, okay, so Ethereum does have a lifeline. When you think of that, does it? But in reality, what does have a lifeline in today's market?
Right. And I think technology changes so quickly. This isn't from going from like the printing press to computers. This is computers to data very, very quick, right? Because the growth in technology is exponential and we don't really understand that. So it's such a good point. It's such a good point. And the other concern is that like, okay, so Ethereum started off as a centralized blockchain because they all did. All right. So under like the new law, it'll be like ancillary. So Ethereum, even though it's already labeled a commodity, in my eyes and most people's eyes, it started off centralized, became decentralized. That's an ancillary asset. Okay. So now we have a big company called Consensys that's part of JP Morgan that copied the Ethereum blockchain, centralized it, labeled it Quorum. What are they doing to MetaMask?
Oh, right. No, yeah, exactly.
And this was part of my concern that we discussed last week about privacy coins and some of these hardcore decentralization platforms. Like, I hope that they win. I think they will, but it is, everything we're doing is a risk, right? It's risk reward. It's risk
It is.
reward.
I was talking this morning with somebody, and it's like, okay, so if you are utilizing, since you brought up MetaMask, and if you are holding some coins, and there's specific reasons to be doing that, especially if you're hoping to participate in the Pulse network and things of that nature and the wallet snapshot. But at the same time, I'm really questioning all of it today. I was yesterday and the day before as well. It's no different. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know.
I know. And the crazy thing is, it's like, I was listening to the engineers talk about the code base for Liink, which is the peer-to-peer network for JP Morgan. And they basically copied Bitcoin and centralized it. So did they who created Bitcoin, right? And that's the other big question I've always had. Like, why is Bitcoin so big and so widely used? Who created Bitcoin, right? Because like you would think that once it hit about a $1 trillion market cap, all the governments would have shut it down. But it was a learning tool, right? It's a learning tool. And again, Bitcoin is anonymous, but it's not private. And if once we got a short ETF approved, which is so stupid. So now you can bet against Bitcoin through ProShares, but you can't buy a spot ETF. But let me ask you a question. If I buy a spot ETF, I buy the Bitcoin ETF, and I buy it on, I don't know, Charles Schwab, for example, or E-Trade, any centralized trading platform. Is that anonymous? No.
Oh, hell no.
It's not anonymous. So it's like, it goes back to where it's how these cryptocurrencies are used. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest question. And again, it looks like JP Morgan built this great, robust, centralized platform, you know, which makes sense, because if you do research on the JP Morgan family,
yeah, their fingers are in a lot of things.
Right. They know a lot of things that we just don't know. So, And with that said, I pulled some predictions that JP Morgan had over the next couple of years.
All right, let's have it.
All right. So, according to JP Morgan, they predict the next sectors of adoption. Number 1, decentralized finance. Number 2, NFTs. And number 3, digital identity. So I know. But at the same time, just remember, we can still use cash.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's it. We always talk about having more than one option. You know, we have to keep more than one option going.
Yep. You know, and again, it's just like, you know, when I look at all these different blockchains, and I look at like, you know, all the different ledgers, right? Because it's just like, we've always used a ledger. Like, we go to accountant, they keep everything on a ledger. We buy a house, it's on a ledger. Like, everything is kept on records. Right? We keep records of everything. And at first it was all kept on paper, and now a lot of it is paper and computer, but everything is going to be going onto that blockchain. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an evolution, right? I mean, you can go through the cloud, and now it's going to be blockchain purely.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, the other question I had too. So when I was listening to the central bank digital currency people, and they're just like, they just kept building more and more and more and more servers to get to this over like $1 million, you know, transactions per second. How is that climate friendly?
Right.
I mean, this whole
I shouldn't laugh. Right.
It's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and I kind of, like I said, like, I think a lot of this is theater. You know, they might not know how we're going to react fully, but I don't know. It's just like, I don't think that that's good for the environment.
No, I think theater is exactly it.
Yeah. So, you know, I think I put an article. You want to pull up that Reuters article? We could talk about that a little bit. And I just kind of wanted to point out, do you see it, Kelly?
Yep, it's having a hard time pulling up. Let me try it again. 2 seconds.
Okay. So, like, in the beginning, when the government told us to stay home and don't worry about the economy and our finances, they also said that they weren't worried about inflation. And then inflation, they said it was transitory, and now it's hot, and now it's kind of running out of control. So Jerome Powell also said that a digital dollar, a central bank digital currency, was just a concept. They weren't going to do anything with it unless they had the backing from Congress. It was so esoteric and so far away. And then this week, well, a central bank digital currency, because this isn't a digital dollar. This isn't the USDC. He's talking about a central bank digital currency, how that can help maintain like our international power, basically, is what that means, right? So it's kind of like, I think their job is just to keep all of us like in line and calm.
But it's, yeah. Well, and it's interesting. You think about, the use of the word calm. Yeah,
or
right.
obedient. How about obedient?
Yeah, obedient. Yeah, it's more about keeping everybody in line and not thinking that they need to question anything. This is just what we're supposed to do. This is what's going to happen, and here it is. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I like to see that I like to look at the words that they say, like, because it's like the job market is so strong. We don't have to worry about like all these other things. We don't have to worry that we flooded the market with dollars. But the one thing I will give kudos to Jerome Powell is that when he was asked the question, is Russia the reason for inflation? Jerome Powell said no, because the president of the United States of America is telling us it's Russia's fault because we need a scapegoat. We need someone to blame, but don't lie. Come on, Biden. Don't, like, these people lie. And it's not, I'm not picking sides. If it wasn't Biden and if it was Trump, Trump would be lying to us. Okay. So I don't care who it is. They all lie. So it's kind of, we need a new system, which, oh my God, which Charles Hodgkinson spoke at the digital regulation hearing.
Amazing.
About it. He was like, at the end of the day, we're going to have a new government. And I mean, it was, if you guys have a chance, Kelly's going to add, it's like about 30 minutes or maybe 20, 30 minutes. I really want everyone to listen to this because he's representing decentralized finance and talking about social credit scores, digital identity.
He nailed it. It was amazing.
Nailed it. And now I'm telling you, we need people like him to represent the people in government. He's authentic, he's intelligent, he communicates well, and he's for sovereignty and the systems. We're not going to stop these systems, but we need sovereignty.
And the panel was leaning into what he had to say. He was expecting and I posted it in the thread here. He was expecting, okay, I've got 37 seconds left or whatever else. I'm going to be cut off here. But every time people leaned in and really allowed him to expand. I thought it was I listened to those. I mean, you listen to those things a lot more often than I do, but I thought it was one of the more productive, energetically feeling exchanges that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like listening to a whole bunch of like congressional hearings and just like regulatory meetings, whether it's Danielle Dixon, whoever, Sam Bankman-Fried, Jeremy Allaire, we've listened to Brian Brooks. I would rather have these folks run the country than our current administration because these folks actually talk in a way that you can understand and they make sense.
I agree. Yeah.
It's like listening to some of these other people like Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen and Maxine Waters, like they just talk in circles. And again, they're just talking in a way to calm us down. Now, I'm not saying their jobs aren't hard. I believe Jerome Powell, he is just in a bad place. This never should have happened. We never should have shut the economy down and told people to stay home because people, you don't understand the ramifications. Now it's almost 2.5 years later and things are going to get worse. They're not going to get better. Not yet, so.
I mean, it's very much, they're delivering word salad to, it's just like they just dance around the issues just to keep things in a certain context.
Well, and they need inflation to stay high for as long as they possibly can, because when we go and purchase things for higher prices, that money goes back to the government and then they could pay down their debt with cheaper dollars that we paid for. So it's complicated and at the same time it's not, but we live in a debt-based system. This is the way it's designed. Everybody has to be in debt in order for the system to work.
Right.
And then maybe we're in too much debt now.
Well, that, and of course, obviously, the debt to income ratio is gravely changing during this time, just based on the cost of living, period. I mean, it's, a broken record at this point, and it is going to continue to get a little bit more challenging here.
Yep. And then as all of the new technology gets more and more mature, we're going to go through deflation. Houses will get cheaper. You know why I know? Because we're going to be printing them. We can print houses.
3D houses.
Yep. And then technology should help bring down the cost of food as well, right? Because we can use artificial intelligence, and I'm not talking Bill Gates farms, okay, Kelly?
Okay, I was just gonna say we're not going there, okay? We're not going to go there.
Both.
Both.
I used to teach nutrition classes like for years, and I would be like, we have the worst food ever. We have Spam in a can. I can't believe this isn't butter. Like, I can't believe this isn't, illegal to sell this. And, even Kraft macaroni and cheese. This is made with real cheese. Well, what the hell else is it made of? So we're going to have the Bill Gates self-raised food, but we'll have the best food ever as well. So we'll eat the best food ever using technology, right, to grow healthy organic food, and it'll lower the cost because we're not going to need people, right? Which is a whole other problem, but like, we're going to get there. But like, again, it's going to be okay. We're going to hold our coins. We're not going to panic. We're not going to sell. We're going to dollar cost average. This stuff is getting adopted, and we're going to create a new society. I know it's overwhelming, but it's going to happen, but not for years. Not for years.
But it will be in our lifetimes. I mean, I know we're both gray, but it will be in our lifetime. So it's not like it's, 30 years away. Yeah. It's around the corner. So, but, I'm always really grateful for this. And just, as a segue into tomorrow being Saturday, we have our monthly Q&A. If anybody wants to join us that's listening in, you go to twowomenencrypto.com/classes events. You will find us. It's $10. It's just a great way to lean in. If you're sitting on the cusp of just wondering what the heck were we just talking about today, or 3 podcasts ago, or just a news article you ran across in the moment, join us. It's fun. It's a great way for you to meet some new community and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's a super sweet community. And and I think today we probably have so many questions. Tomorrow is going to be a fun class. Write all your questions down, bring them, because like, we can only cover so much. Kelly and I are talking about like doing more shorts during the week, but there's only so many hours in the day. So we're still trying to work on things and get all these kinks worked out. But
very much in flow.
Yeah, because we're at the beginning phases of moving into a new monetary system. Like, it's gonna be bumpy, it's gonna be bumpy. So we just
Trust your gut. Yep, trust your gut. So until tomorrow, but of course until next Friday,
hodl on.
Your hosts for Two Women in Crypto are Andrea Caldero and Kelly Lair. You'll find more information and details regarding the Two Women in Crypto membership, educational and informative class and event offerings, and more via their website, twowomenencrypto.com. Both Andrea and Kelly are available for speaking events and offer private consultations focused on helping individuals navigate the future. Until next time, hodl on.